Welcome to California Bar Prep, your study companion for the California Bar exam. In this lesson, performance test, reading the task memo, identifying your exact assignment and audience. Let's begin. The task memo is the command center of the performance test. It is usually short, but it controls the entire answer. It tells you what role you are playing, what document to prepare, who will read it, what issues to address, what facts or law may matter, and sometimes what not to include. If you misread the task memo, you can understand the file and library well and still produce the wrong product. Think of the task memo as a supervising attorney's instruction. In practice, a new lawyer is not rewarded for writing an impressive document that ignores the assignment. The same is true on the PT. If the memo asks for an objective memorandum to a partner, you should not write a persuasive brief to a court. If it asks for only the enforceability of a non-compete clause, you should not spend half the answer on damages. If it asks for a client letter, you should write in a clear advisory voice rather than dense internal shorthand. Audience matters because it changes tone and content. A court needs persuasive legal argument supported by authority. A supervising attorney needs objective analysis, including weaknesses and likely outcomes. A client needs practical advice in plain language, with enough law to explain the recommendation but not so much that the letter becomes a case brief. Opposing counsel may receive a demand letter with firm but professional framing. A government agency may require compliance with a specified format. Before reading deeply, identify the audience and imagine what that reader needs. Scope matters because the PT materials may contain more issues than the task requires. The file may include background disputes, extra claims, emotional facts, or procedural history. The library may include several rules. The task memo helps you decide what to use. Sometimes it explicitly says, "Do not address remedies," or "Assume jurisdiction is proper." Those instructions are gifts. Following them saves time and avoids irrelevant analysis. First, read the task memo slowly before touching the file or library. Underline the action verb. Prepare, draft, analyze, advise, argue, evaluate, respond, or recommend. The verb signals the kind of thinking required. Analyze. Usually. Second, identify the deliverable. Common deliverables include objective memorandum, persuasive brief, motion argument, client letter, opinion letter, demand letter, bench memo, negotiation plan, discovery plan, contract clause, or settlement evaluation. Write the deliverable at the top of your scratch outline. This keeps format in view while you read. Third, identify the audience. Ask who will read the final product: partner, senior attorney, court, client, opposing counsel, agency, mediator, or internal business team. Then translate that into tone. Objective internal work should be candid and balanced. Persuasive court work should be structured around arguments and point headings. Client work should be clear, practical, and respectful. If the audience is legally trained, legal shorthand is acceptable. If not, explain terms. Fourth, identify the client or side you represent. In persuasive tasks, this determines framing. In objective tasks, it still matters because you may be asked to predict risks for your client. Do not accidentally argue for the wrong party. PT files sometimes include multiple actors with similar names, so mark your client clearly. Fifth, list each question asked. Many task memos contain numbered issues or embedded questions. Turn them into headings immediately. If the memo asks whether the client can establish liability and what damages are available, those are separate sections. If it asks for procedural and substantive arguments, separate them. Answering every assigned question is one of the simplest ways to gain points. Sixth, note exclusions and assumptions. The memo may say to ignore ethical issues, assume a statute applies, do not prepare a facts section, omit a statement of jurisdiction, or address only one claim. These instructions override your instincts. If you include excluded material, you lose time and may signal poor judgment. Seventh, identify any required format. Some task memos provide exact headings or say, use the following format. Follow it. If no format is specified, choose the conventional format for that document type. For example, An objective memo normally includes question presented, brief answer, facts, discussion, and conclusion, unless instructed otherwise. A persuasive brief normally uses caption-like elements only if requested, plus argument headings and legal analysis. 8th, convert the memo into a working checklist. Before writing, check the list. Before finishing, check it again. A PT answer can be well written, but incomplete if it misses one assigned component. The checklist protects against that. Imagine the task memo says, "Our client, Greenbox Delivery, has been sued by a former driver. Please prepare a memorandum for me analyzing only whether Greenbox can compel arbitration under the attached agreement. Do not address the merits of the wage claims or potential damages." This memo gives several commands. The deliverable is a memorandum, so the tone is objective and internal. The audience is the supervising attorney, so legal analysis can be candid and detailed. The client is Greenbox. The only issue is compelling arbitration under the attached agreement. The memo expressly excludes wage claim merits and damages. If the file includes emotional facts about unpaid overtime, those facts matter only if they relate to arbitration formation, scope, unconscionability, waiver, or another library rule. They should not become a wage law essay. A strong outline might include question presented, brief answer, relevant facts, discussion with headings for formation, scope, and defenses, and conclusion. A weak outline would include whether the driver was misclassified, how much overtime is owed, and whether Greenbox acted unfairly. Those topics may feel important, but they violate the assignment. The biggest mistake is reading the task memo too quickly. Students often assume the format from past practice instead of following the actual instruction. Another mistake is confusing objective and persuasive tone. An objective memo should not hide weaknesses. A persuasive brief should not sound undecided. Students also miss limiting words such as only, whether, do not, assume, and for purposes of this assignment. Those words narrow the universe. Another common error is writing to the wrong audience. A client letter that reads like a law review note is not effective. A court brief that reads like private advice is not persuasive. Some students fail to answer all sub-questions. If the memo asks for liability, defenses, and remedy, each deserves attention unless the law makes one unnecessary. Spend 2 to 4 minutes on the task memo. That may feel long for a short document, but it saves far more time later. Create a mini checklist before reading the library. Revisit the memo after reading and before writing. During the last review, compare your headings to the checklist. If a heading does not respond to the task, consider cutting or shrinking it. If a task item has no heading, add one. When rushed, let the task memo decide priorities. Cover assigned issues first, even if briefly. Do not spend precious minutes on interesting but unassigned issues. The task memo controls deliverable, audience, tone, and scope. Identify the action verb, document type, reader, client, issues, exclusions, and required format. Convert the assignment into a checklist. Follow limiting instructions exactly. Match tone to audience, objective, persuasive, advisory, or practical. Recheck the memo before submitting to ensure you answered the actual assignment. That's it for this lesson. Download California Bar Prep on the App Store for lessons on all 14 bar subjects, practice questions, and essay frameworks. Keep studying, and good luck on the bar exam.